Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you've joined me today to discuss something that might surprise you but could change your life for the better. Did you know that some of the vegetables you've been told are healthy all your life might actually be contributing to your knee pain? It's true, and today we're going to explore why. As we reach our golden years, our bodies undergo remarkable changes, and what once nourished us without issue might now be causing silent inflammation. Those aches and stiffness you feel in the morning or after sitting for a while, they might have more to do with your dinner plate than your age. The connection between certain vegetables and joint pain isn't commonly discussed by doctors, but the evidence is mounting. For many adults over 60, eliminating specific plant foods has led to dramatic improvements in mobility and comfort. Let's talk about inflammation first, because that's at the heart of this issue. Inflammation is your body's natural response to injury or foreign substances, but when it becomes chronic, it can damage your joints over time. Certain compounds in vegetables can trigger inflammatory responses in sensitive individuals, especially as we age. You see, our digestive system changes as we get older. The protective lining of our gut becomes more permeable, allowing certain compounds from foods to enter our bloodstream more easily. This is often called leaky gut, and it can lead to your immune system reacting to foods that never bothered you before. The main culprits we'll discuss today are called nightshades, a family of vegetables that contain compounds called alkaloids. These include tomatoes, potatoes, bell peppers, and eggplants. For many people over 60, these vegetables can increase joint pain and stiffness. Another issue is oxalates found in spinach, kale, and other leafy greens. While these vegetables are packed with nutrients, their oxalate content can crystallize in the joints of sensitive individuals, potentially worsening arthritic conditions. Let's not forget lectins present in beans, lentils, and certain grains. These are plant proteins that can trigger immune responses in some people, especially those with autoimmune conditions that often develop later in life. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I've eaten these vegetables my whole life. How could they suddenly be causing problems? The answer lies in the cumulative effect. After decades of exposure, combined with age-related changes in your immune system, these plant compounds may begin triggering responses they didn't before. Environmental factors play a role too. Exposure to pollutants, medications, and stress throughout our lives can sensitize our immune systems, making us more reactive to compounds and foods that were previously tolerated well. This doesn't mean all vegetables are problematic. Far from it. Many vegetables remain powerful allies for joint health. Let's talk about tomatoes, those bright red fruits that we've all been told are superfoods. They're in our salads, our sauces, our sandwiches, and they add wonderful flavor to countless dishes. But could these common kitchen staples actually be contributing to your knee pain? For many people over 60, the answer is yes. Tomatoes belong to the nightshade family of plants, and they contain several compounds that can trigger inflammation in sensitive individuals. The primary culprit is solanine, an alkaloid that tomatoes produce naturally as a defense mechanism against insects and disease. What makes solanine problematic for joints? This compound can inhibit an enzyme called cholinesterase in some people, especially as we age. When this happens, it can lead to an accumulation of acetylcholine in the body, potentially triggering pain signals and increasing inflammation around the joints. Research has shown that people with certain types of arthritis, particularly rheumatoid arthritis, may experience increased joint pain and stiffness after consuming tomatoes. And while the evidence isn't conclusive for everyone, many individuals report significant improvement when they eliminate tomatoes from their diet. Here's something interesting to consider. Wild tomatoes actually contain much higher levels of solanine than the varieties we typically eat today. Through cultivation, we've reduced these levels, but they're still present, especially in green tomatoes and the leaves and stems of the plant. Another compound in tomatoes that may affect joint health is called lycopene. Now, lycopene is often praised for its antioxidant properties, and rightly so. But in some individuals, particularly those with existing inflammatory conditions, the acid in tomatoes combined with lycopene might actually increase inflammation rather than reduce it. It's also worth noting that tomatoes contain lectins, which are proteins that can bind to certain carbohydrates in our bodies. For some people, especially those with autoimmune conditions that become more common after 60, these lectins might trigger an immune response that increases inflammation in the joints. The acidity of tomatoes presents another concern. As we age, our bodies often become more sensitive to acidic foods. Tomatoes have a pH of around 4.3 to 4.9, making them quite acidic. This acidity can potentially disrupt the pH balance in our bodies, creating an environment where inflammation thrives. Now, this doesn't mean everyone needs to give up tomatoes completely. Your body's response to tomatoes depends on your individual biochemistry, your gut health, and any existing inflammatory conditions you might have. Some people can eat tomatoes without any issues, while others notice a direct correlation between tomato consumption and increased joint pain. If you suspect tomatoes might be affecting your knees, how can you tell for sure? One approach is to eliminate them completely for 2 to 3 weeks, then carefully reintroduce them while monitoring your symptoms. Many people are surprised by how quickly they notice a difference in their joint pain when they remove tomatoes from their diet. But what if you love tomatoes? Must you give them up entirely? Not necessarily. There are ways to potentially reduce their inflammatory effects. Cooking tomatoes can break down some of the problematic compounds, making them more tolerable for some individuals. Peeling them removes certain lectins found in the skin. Another approach is to balance tomatoes with anti-inflammatory foods. For example, if you're having tomato sauce with pasta, add plenty of garlic, olive oil, and herbs like basil and oregano, which have anti-inflammatory properties that might help offset the potential negative effects of tomatoes. For those who do need to avoid tomatoes, there are several delicious alternatives. Red bell peppers can provide a similar sweetness and color in many recipes. Carrots can add bulk and sweetness to sauces. Beets offer a rich color and earthy flavor that works well in many dishes where tomatoes might otherwise be used. Umami-rich foods like mushrooms can help replace the savory quality that tomatoes bring to dishes. Pumpkin and butternut squash can make excellent bases for sauces that traditionally use tomatoes. And for salads, try using strawberries or watermelon for a juicy, refreshing alternative. It's also worth considering the quality of tomatoes you consume. Some people find that organic, vine-ripened tomatoes cause fewer problems than conventionally grown varieties. This might be due to differences in growing methods, ripening processes, or even the specific tomato varieties. Remember, nutrition is highly individual, especially as we age. What works wonderfully for one person might not work for another. Listen to your body and pay attention to how your knees feel in the hours and days after consuming tomatoes. If you do find that tomatoes trigger your knee pain, don't despair. There are countless delicious, nutritious foods that can support joint health instead. In fact, discovering new ingredients and recipes might open up a whole new world of culinary delights that not only spare you from pain but actively contribute to your well-being. When we think of comfort foods, potatoes often top the list. Whether mashed, baked, or fried, these starchy tubers have been a staple in diets around the world for centuries. But if you're over 60 and experiencing knee pain, your beloved potatoes might be contributing to your discomfort. Like tomatoes, white potatoes belong to the Nightshade family and contain solanine, that natural pesticide that can trigger inflammatory responses in sensitive individuals. Where potatoes differ from tomatoes is in the concentration and location of these compounds. In potatoes, solanine is most concentrated in the skin, especially when the potato has turned green or sprouted, those green spots you sometimes see. That's actually chlorophyll, but where there's chlorophyll in a potato, there's typically more solanine as well. When consumed regularly, these compounds can accumulate in your system and potentially contribute to joint pain and stiffness, particularly in weight-bearing joints like the knees. This effect seems to be more pronounced in older adults, possibly due to changes in immune function and gut permeability that come with age. The story of potatoes and inflammation doesn't end with solanine. Potatoes also have a high glycemic index, meaning they can cause rapid spikes in blood sugar. These spikes trigger the release of insulin and can lead to increased production of inflammatory compounds called cytokines. For adults over 60, blood sugar regulation often becomes less efficient, making these spikes potentially more problematic for joint health. The resulting inflammation can exacerbate existing knee pain or even trigger new discomfort in previously pain-free joints. Another concern with potatoes is their ability to contribute to weight gain when consumed in large quantities or prepared with lots of added fats. Each extra pound of body weight adds about 4 pounds of pressure on your knees when walking. Over time, this added pressure can accelerate joint wear and tear. There's also the issue of lectins in potatoes, particularly in the skin. These proteins can bind to the lining of your digestive tract and potentially contribute to increased gut permeability. As we've discussed, this leaky gut can allow inflammatory compounds to enter your bloodstream more easily. Now, does this mean you need to eliminate potatoes entirely? Not necessarily. The impact of potatoes on joint health varies significantly from person to person. Some individuals report dramatic improvement in knee pain after eliminating potatoes, while others notice little difference. If you suspect potatoes might be affecting your knees, consider a 3-week elimination period. Remove all forms of white potatoes from your diet and note any changes in your joint pain and stiffness. After the elimination period, reintroduce potatoes and pay careful attention to how your body responds. For those who do find a connection between potatoes and knee pain, there are several delicious alternatives that can satisfy your cravings without the inflammation. Sweet potatoes, despite their similar name, are not nightshades and don't contain solanine. They're packed with nutrients that support joint health, including beta-carotene and vitamin C. Cauliflower has become incredibly popular as a potato substitute in recent years. It can be mashed, roasted, or even made into potato salad with remarkably similar texture and flavor when prepared properly. Plus, it contains compounds that may actually help reduce inflammation. Rutabagas, turnips, and parsnips can also stand in for potatoes in many recipes. These root vegetables offer different nutrient profiles and typically cause fewer inflammatory responses in sensitive individuals. They can be prepared in most of the same ways you'd enjoy potatoes. If you do continue to eat potatoes occasionally, there are ways to potentially reduce their negative effects. Always remove the skin, where much of the solanine is concentrated. Never eat potatoes that have turned green or sprouted. And consider boiling potatoes, as some research suggests this cooking method may reduce their glycemic impact. Pair your potatoes with anti-inflammatory foods like olive oil, garlic, and herbs rather than inflammatory fats like vegetable oils. And keep portions moderate to avoid blood sugar spikes and excess weight gain that could put more pressure on your knees. It's worth noting that some varieties of potatoes may be better tolerated than others. Purple potatoes, for instance, contain powerful antioxidants that might help offset some of their inflammatory potential. Experiment with different types to see if any are better tolerated by your unique system. Remember, we're all biochemically individual. Your response to potatoes will depend on your genetic makeup, your gut health, your overall inflammatory state, and many other factors. What causes significant knee pain in one person might be perfectly fine for another. The key is to become a detective of your own body. Notice how your knees feel in the hours and days after consuming potatoes. Keep a food journal if needed to track patterns. And always listen to your body's signals, which often become clearer once you start paying attention. If you do find that potatoes contribute to your knee pain, take heart in knowing that making this dietary change could lead to significant improvement in your comfort and mobility. Many people report being able to reduce or even eliminate pain medications after identifying and removing their specific food triggers. Those colorful bell peppers that brighten your salads and stir-fries are certainly eye-catching, but they might also be catching your joints in a web of inflammation. Like tomatoes and potatoes, bell peppers belong to the Nightshade family and contain compounds that can trigger joint pain in sensitive individuals, especially those over 60. Bell peppers contain several alkaloids, including solanine and capsaicin. While capsaicin is more commonly associated with hot peppers, bell peppers contain it in smaller amounts. For most people, capsaicin has anti-inflammatory properties, which is why it's often used in topical pain relievers. However, in some individuals, particularly those with certain autoimmune conditions or sensitivities that become more common after 60, these compounds can have the opposite effect, triggering inflammation rather than reducing it. This paradoxical response is one reason why nutrition needs to be personalized as we age. The colorful pigments in bell peppers, while rich in antioxidants, can also be problematic for some people. These pigments include carotenoids in red and yellow peppers and chlorophyll in green peppers. While generally beneficial, in sensitive individuals these compounds might trigger immune responses that increase joint inflammation. Another consideration is the lectins in bell peppers, particularly concentrated in the seeds and membranes. These plant proteins can bind to the lining of your digestive tract and potentially increase gut permeability in sensitive individuals. As we've discussed, this leaky gut can allow inflammatory compounds to enter your bloodstream more easily. As we age, our digestion naturally becomes less efficient. The production of digestive enzymes decreases and the balance of gut bacteria often shifts. These changes can make it more difficult to process certain compounds in foods like bell peppers, potentially leading to increased inflammation and joint pain. What makes identifying bell peppers as a trigger particularly challenging is that they're often considered a health food. We're told to eat the rainbow, and bell peppers certainly add vibrant colors to our plates. It can be difficult to connect something so seemingly healthy with the pain and stiffness in your knees. Yet many people report significant improvement in joint mobility and reduction in knee pain after eliminating bell peppers from their diets. The relief can be quite dramatic, sometimes beginning within just a few days of removing these colorful vegetables from meals. How can you tell if bell peppers are affecting your knees? As with other potential trigger foods, an elimination period of 3 weeks can be revealing. Remove all bell peppers from your diet during this time and note any changes in your joint pain and stiffness. After the elimination period, reintroduce bell peppers and carefully observe your body's response. Signs that you may be sensitive to bell peppers include increased stiffness upon waking, a sensation of heat or inflammation in your knees, and decreased range of motion after consuming them. You might also notice these symptoms worsening during certain times of the year or under specific conditions, such as during weather changes. If you do find that bell peppers trigger your knee pain, there are plenty of delicious alternatives that can provide similar nutritional benefits without the inflammation. Zucchini, cucumbers, and celery can add crunch to salads. Carrots offer sweetness and vibrant color. Broccoli and cauliflower provide satisfying texture in stir-fries and roasted vegetable medleys. For those who miss the distinctive flavor of bell peppers, herbs and spices can help fill the gap. Cumin, coriander, and paprika, which is made from dried peppers but is often tolerated differently, can add depth to dishes. Turmeric, with its powerful anti-inflammatory properties, is particularly beneficial for joint health. If you're not ready to eliminate bell peppers entirely, there are ways to potentially reduce their inflammatory effects. Cooking bell peppers thoroughly can break down some of the problematic compounds. Removing the seeds and membranes where lectins concentrate may also help. And as always, pairing them with anti-inflammatory foods might help offset their potential negative effects. It's worth noting that different colored bell peppers might affect you differently. Some people find that green peppers, which are essentially unripe, cause more problems than fully ripened red, yellow, or orange varieties. Others report the opposite. Experimenting with different colors might help you identify patterns specific to your body. Remember that sensitivity to bell peppers, like other food sensitivities, can develop over time. You might have enjoyed them without issue for decades, only to find they've become problematic in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. This evolution of food sensitivities is a normal part of aging for many people. The good news is that identifying and addressing these sensitivities can lead to significant improvements in comfort and mobility. Many people find that making targeted dietary changes based on their individual triggers allows them to reduce or even eliminate their reliance on pain medications, which often come with unwanted side effects. As we continue to explore the connection between vegetables and knee pain, remember that the goal isn't to eliminate all vegetables, far from it. Instead, it's about identifying which specific ones might be triggering inflammation in your unique body so you can make informed choices that support your joint health and overall well-being. That glossy purple vegetable might look innocent in your ratatouille or parmesan, but for many adults over 60, eggplant could be silently contributing to knee pain and stiffness. As another member of the Nightshade family, eggplant contains compounds that can trigger inflammatory responses in sensitive individuals. Eggplant contains several alkaloids, primarily solanine and salicylidine. These compounds serve as the plant's natural protection against insects and disease, but in some human bodies, particularly as we age, they can interfere with normal enzyme function and potentially trigger pain signals in the joints. What makes eggplant unique among nightshades is its spongy texture, which can absorb enormous amounts of oil during cooking. This combination of potentially inflammatory plant compounds and added fats can create a perfect storm for joint inflammation, particularly affecting weight-bearing joints like the knees. The purple skin of eggplant contains niacin, an antioxidant that gives the vegetable its distinctive color. While niacin has beneficial properties for most people, in sensitive individuals, particularly those with autoimmune tendencies that become more common after 60, it might trigger immune responses that increase joint inflammation. Another consideration is the seeds of eggplant, which contain significant amounts of lectins. These plant proteins can bind to the lining of your digestive tract and potentially increase gut permeability in sensitive individuals. This leaky gut scenario can allow inflammatory compounds to enter your bloodstream more easily. Many popular dishes featuring eggplant come from Mediterranean cuisine, which is generally considered heart-healthy. This association with healthy eating patterns makes it particularly difficult to identify eggplant as a potential trigger for joint pain. Who would suspect that a vegetable in the heart-healthy Mediterranean diet could be causing problems? Yet, for many individuals, eliminating eggplant leads to noticeable improvements in joint comfort and mobility. The timeline varies, but many people report feeling better within just a week or two of removing eggplant from their meals. The improvement can be subtle at first, but often becomes more apparent over time. How can you tell if eggplant is affecting your knees? As with other potential trigger foods, an elimination period of 3 weeks can be revealing. Remove all forms of eggplant from your diet during this time and note any changes in your joint pain and stiffness. After the elimination period, reintroduce eggplant and carefully observe your body's response. Signs that you may be sensitive to eggplant include increased morning stiffness, a sensation of warmth or inflammation in your knees, and decreased flexibility after consuming it. You might also notice these symptoms worsening when eggplant is consumed alongside other nightshades or inflammatory foods. That golden vegetable we enjoy on the cob, in salads, and as a base for countless processed foods might be playing a significant role in your knee pain after 60, unlike the nightshades we've discussed so far. Corn presents a different kind of challenge to aging joints, primarily related to its fatty acid profile and its effects on your body's inflammatory pathways. Corn is naturally high in omega-6 fatty acids, particularly linoleic acid. While omega-6 fats are essential for health, the typical modern diet contains far too many omega-6 south compared to anti-inflammatory omega-3 south. This imbalance can shift your body toward a more pro-inflammatory state, potentially worsening joint pain and stiffness. As we age, our ability to regulate this inflammatory balance becomes less efficient, making the omega-6 content in corn potentially more problematic for those over 60. The impact is compounded by the fact that corn appears in so many foods, often in forms we don't immediately recognize. Corn oil, which is extracted from corn kernels, is especially high in omega-6 fatty acids. This oil is used extensively in processed foods, restaurant cooking, and commercial baked goods. Even if you don't eat corn on the cob regularly, you might be consuming significant amounts of corn oil without realizing it. High-fructose corn syrup presents another concern. This sweetener derived from corn is found in countless processed foods and beverages. It can contribute to metabolic changes that increase inflammation throughout the body, potentially affecting your knees and other joints. The corn we eat today is quite different from what our ancestors consumed. Modern varieties have been selectively bred for higher sugar content and yield, potentially altering their nutritional profile in ways that may increase their inflammatory potential. This might explain why some people seem to tolerate heirloom varieties better than modern hybrid corn. Another consideration is that much of the corn available today is genetically modified to withstand herbicides. While the safety of GMO foods is a complex topic beyond the scope of our discussion, some research suggests that certain individuals may have inflammatory responses to proteins in these modified crops. Corn also contains lectins similar to the nightshade vegetables we've discussed. These plant proteins can bind to the lining of your digestive tract and potentially increase gut permeability in sensitive individuals. This leaky gut scenario can allow inflammatory compounds to enter your bloodstream more easily. Signs that you may be sensitive to corn include increased joint pain or stiffness, swelling, and a feeling of warmth in the affected joints after consuming it. You might also notice these symptoms worsening when corn is consumed alongside other inflammatory foods or during times of stress. We've been discussing individual vegetables that might contribute to knee pain, but now let's take a broader look at the family they belong to, nightshades. This plant family has been controversial in the world of joint health for decades, with passionate advocates on both sides of the debate. Today, we'll explore what science and clinical experience tell us about nightshades and your knees. Nightshades are a family of plants scientifically known as Solanaceae. The edible members of this family include tomatoes, white potatoes, eggplant, bell peppers, hot peppers, tomatillos, goji berries, and sometimes tobacco. What these plants have in common are naturally occurring compounds called alkaloids, which they produce as protection against insects and disease. The primary alkaloids in nightshades are solanine, capsaicin, nicotine, and atropine, found in varying amounts depending on the specific plant. These compounds can affect nerve muscle function, digestive function, and joint health in sensitive individuals. The effect seems to be more pronounced in those over 60, possibly due to changes in metabolism and immune function that come with age. The controversy around nightshades and joint pain dates back to the 1940s when Dr. Norman Childers, a horticulturist, observed that his joint pain improved when he stopped eating nightshades. He later conducted informal surveys, finding that about 70 to 75% of people with arthritis reported improvement when avoiding these foods. While not rigorous scientific studies, these observations sparked interest in the nightshade arthritis connection. Modern research on this topic is limited but growing. Some studies have found that specific alkaloids in nightshades can inhibit normal collagen repair in joints and may increase calcium deposits in soft tissues. Other research suggests that these compounds might affect the activity of an enzyme called cholinesterase, potentially leading to inflammation and pain. For individuals with existing inflammatory conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, or gout, the alkaloids in nightshades might exacerbate symptoms by triggering immune responses or affecting the body's pH balance. This effect appears to be highly individual, with some people experiencing significant relief when avoiding nightshades and others noticing no difference. Interestingly, the effect of nightshades seems to be cumulative for many people. Small amounts might not trigger noticeable symptoms immediately, but regular consumption over time can lead to gradually increasing joint pain and stiffness. This slow buildup makes it particularly challenging to connect these foods with your symptoms. Another factor to consider is that modern agricultural practices have changed the alkaloid content of many nightshade vegetables. Now that we've discussed vegetables that might be contributing to knee pain, let's turn our attention to something more uplifting: foods that can actively support joint health and potentially reduce knee pain and stiffness. These nutritional powerhouses provide compounds that fight inflammation, support cartilage repair, and promote overall joint comfort. At the top of our list are fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines. These ocean treasures are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA, which have powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Research shows that regular consumption of these healthy fats can reduce joint pain and stiffness, particularly in conditions like osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. What makes omega-3 so beneficial for your knees? These fatty acids help block inflammatory cytokines and prostaglandins, reducing inflammation throughout the body. They also support the production of specialized pro-resolving mediators, compounds that actively help resolve existing inflammation in your joints. For those who don't eat fish, plant sources of omega-3 like flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts can be beneficial. Though they provide a different form of omega-3 called ALA, your body converts some ALA to the more active EPA and DHA, but the conversion rate decreases with age, making fish sources particularly valuable for adults over 60. Second on our list are berries, particularly blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries. These colorful fruits are packed with antioxidants called anthocyanins, which give them their vibrant hues. These compounds have been shown to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, both contributors to joint pain and cartilage degradation. Third on our list is turmeric, a golden spice that's been used in traditional medicine for thousands of years. The active compound in turmeric, curcumin, has powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Multiple studies have found that curcumin can reduce joint pain and improve function in people with arthritis, sometimes as effectively as certain anti-inflammatory medications. Fourth on our list are leafy green vegetables like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard. These nutrient-dense greens are rich in vitamins C and K, as well as minerals like calcium and magnesium, all of which support joint health. They also contain compounds called antioxidants that help neutralize free radicals, which can damage joint tissues. Fifth on our list are nuts and seeds, particularly almonds, walnuts, and pumpkin seeds. These nutritional powerhouses provide healthy fats, protein, and minerals like magnesium and zinc, which are crucial for joint health. They also contain vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant that helps protect joint tissues from oxidative damage.